divorce referendum as breakfast. Ohanese youth leader. Wow, what's going on here? Let's find out. Welcome back to Prospect Channels TV. Thank you for coming out here. If you're just joining us, please kindly subscribe and don't forget to give us a thumbs up. Thank you once again. The history of the genocide against Igbo since 54 years ago was subdued. In fact, it was because of the genocide against Igbo. History was bound in schools, but I quitted from government secondary school and entered private school. I did history. Although the world history recorded the 1967 to 1970 event in Nigeria as Nigerian Biafra Civil War, but in actual sense, it wasn't a war, but a calculated genocide against Igbo Biafrans. The genocide was conscious conspiracy to annihilate Igbos from the surface of the earth, like Holocaust against the Jews in 1945. As a student of art of war and history, the 1967 to 1970 event was not just a war. The Nigerian government, in collaboration with British government, committed a world-recorded genocide against Igbos. It was not a war because they breached the principle, rules of war. They targeted and bombed civilians, dominant areas like markets, schools and churches in Biafra land. The starvation policy and blockage initiated by Chief Obafemi Awolowo led over 1 million Biafran kids into kwashiorkor and death. The first sign that confirmed that those signing the song of One Nigeria were resisting Igbo to be part of Nigeria was the introduction of the 3 R's: reconstruction, rehabilitation, and reconciliation, yet none of the 3 R's were implemented in Igbo land or any part of Biafra land. I challenge the federal government of Nigeria to show any implementation of 3 R's in Igbo land or Biafra land. The genocide, carnage, and destruction was done in Biafra land, but reconstruction and rehabilitation was done in the northern and western Nigeria. Even immediately the genocide ended in 1970, the victimization of Igbo started. 20 pounds was given to Biafrans, irrespective of the amount of money the person has in the bank. So, was this a phase of reconciliation to Igbo Biafrans? Was this a sign of reintegration of Igbo into Nigeria? Fortunately, Igbo packed up the pieces of their life with only 20 pounds and went to the north and west. They economically, politically desired to reintegrate into Nigeria, but those singing the song of One Nigeria resisted and rejected them. From 1970, Igbo, the only patriotic Nigerians, started developing all the cities in Nigeria. Igbo built Lagos. They built Kaduna, Sokoto, Katsina, Ibadan, Abuja, Jos, Maiduguri, Adamawa, Nasarawa, and every other cities in Nigeria with 20 pounds. Yet, Igbos are being maltreated and rejected in Nigeria. Igbo have demonstrated spirit of patriotism in Nigeria more than any tribe. Yet, the worst form of victimization and maltreatment are done against Igbo in Nigeria. Police, force, the DSS, immigration, officers, army, navy, air force, custom, some agencies, and other institutions. There is always a different law for an Igbo person in any issue that concerns him or her in Nigeria. The text that shows that Igbo are resisted and rejected to be part of in Nigeria is the 2023 presidential election, where Peter Obi pulled all Nigerians to polling units. But the result was written and manipulated because Peter Obi is an Igbo man. In the history of Nigeria politics, there is no Nigerian presidential candidate that has more popularity and acceptability by common masses like Peter Obi. Peter Obi broke a history in Nigerian politics. The poor masses were freely contributed money, used their funds, organized campaigns for Peter Obi. Those that have never voted in any election in Nigeria decided and enrolled in voters registration, obtained voters card, and casted their vote to Mr. Peter Obi. The presidential election petition tribunal changed the law. 25% vote for FCT was buried because it was about an Igbo man. Nigeria is like a football pitch. At any time an Igbo player picked up the ball and lifted his leg to kick the ball to the goalpost, the referee will blow the whistle and challenge the goalpost. Nigeria was structured by Britain to be a failed state. The more Nigeria is failing and collapsing, the more Britain is developing and waxing strong. That is why an Igbo man cannot be the president of Nigeria. An Igbo man becoming president of Nigeria is obstructing colonialism in Nigeria. So Britain prefer power toasting from Hausa, Fulani, Yoruba to hold Nigeria under political economic hostage, and whatever. This is what Malam Aminu Kanu saw over 50 years ago and stated that the movement of Nigeria is one step forward and two steps backward. This is really the definition of Nigeria as it continues to deteriorating every year. The future of Nigeria is worse than the present today. Those crying for hard time should wait for another harder time. If the present structure of Nigeria remains the same, there is only two options for the survival of Ndi Igbo in Nigeria. The first option is disintegration from Nigeria, like the USSR. The second option is the regional government. The second option is the temporary solution, but the first option is permanent solution. You can take this statement to the bank. It is very easy and not a hard task to use leg to cross Atlantic Ocean, but it is very hard and a life-threatening risk to remain in Nigeria as an Igbo person. Nigeria is a good mining ground for politicians who report to Britain and their allies. Nigerian politicians are evil that shines outside but rotten inside. There was no agitation of Igbos to separate from Nigeria from 1970 to 1989, until 1999 when barrister Raphael Nwazurike and co-formed the Movement for Actualization States of Biafra, MASOP. Unfortunately, Nwazurike was arrested, detained, tortured, silent until Comrade Uche Madu took over the leadership of Movement for Actualization State of Biafra. Nigerian government thought it is over until in 2012. Okay. Mazi Nnamdi Kanu, the leader of the indigenous people of Biafra, IPOB, came to limelight and became popular. If Igbo were not rejected and resisted to be part of Nigeria, Nnamdi Kanu would not have gathered such millions of the front state of Biafra as follows. The crowd following Nnamdi Kanu defines the level of marginalization, victimization, of oppressiveness, and hate against Igbo in Nigeria. Referendum is not a call for war, it is a call for peace, to recheck coexistence of a people. Igbo need referendum. Let Igbo be saved with referendum as breakfast. Let Igbos be served with referendum as breakfast. This is coming from Comrade Igboyeka or Igboyeka, the National President General Ohanese Youth. Okay, the National the President General Ohanese Youth Council OYCF. OYC, I meant to say. So guys, let's hear from you.